order some funk. Because this is the Two Schmoes Show. I'm the infamous Orion, and I am a Schmo.
And I'm Cairo. And I actually kind of did order some funk this week. I
Go
think we
on.
should start talking about it. Daft Punk's 10th anniversary edition of Random Access Memories.
I want that so bad.
It is so good. The
Is it?
whole thing, like the angels that they are, the whole album is on YouTube for free.
Yes, I did notice that. I want a physical copy because
Yeah.
I'm a okay. Random access memories, and I think I've told you this, and this is going to be a little
hmm
controversial.
hmm
Probably one of my top albums of all time.
I have my quarrels with it, but I can't deny that it is a masterpiece.
It is. I think the biggest problem with random access memories for a lot of Daft Punk fans,
hmm
it's labeled as a Daft Punk album.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, because I know.
It is phenomenal.
Yeah,
It just doesn't quite feel like Daft Punk.
no, and that's like what I love about it because it's like
hmm
it's weirdly nostalgic. It's a very
hmm
nostalgic album for like the albums that made Daft Punk into Daft Punk
hmm Oh yeah.
without going too far into who they are.
I'll say that's something that I really appreciate with the additional content. Let me actually put up real quick, go through it because there is for the vinyl release of it that they have added an entire double side vinyl uh extra to it because there is that much stuff. They include the Horizon Overture
Yes.
along with Horizon, which was a single exclusive to the Japan release of the original Random Access Memories. They have what do they call it? The studio outtakes version of Give Life Back to Music, which is like just them in the studio just kind of
Fucking
vibing
with it.
out the song, which is phenomenal. Infinity Repeating, a 2013 demo featuring Julian Casablancas and the Voids that never made it onto the original album for whatever reason. I think from my understanding of it, there's some interviews I saw with Casablancas afterwards where it sounded like they had started to work on this after Random Access Memories became a thing and was already finalized and released.
Yeah.
So they had this demo worked up, but because of the timing of it and Daft Punk, eventually dissolving, of course, it just never found its way onto an actual album, which is a crime because
Un-
it's so good
until today.
until today. And everybody's just like, God damn, this is what they had on the back burner.
Yeah.
Um, there's a weird little piece from Get Lucky that, from what I understand, is sort of like a musically an inside look into their production process, where it apparently has pieces from Get Lucky, of course, as well as, oh man, which one was it? I want to say Touch, that shows how they may have planned to have the album be in a different order originally and ended up changing it later.
Okay.
There is another unreleased, unfinished song, Prime, that was apparently done in 2012. A vocoder test of Lose Yourself to Dance, which is pretty cool because, for Pharrell's part, it's pretty clear what he's saying, but it makes it a lot easier to pick up what the robot voices are and what they're saying.
So is it like the original? Full disclosure, I have not listened to
Yes.
the other half of this
Mm,
anniversary edition yet.
yeah.
I haven't even heard Infinity repeating quite fully yet.
hmm
So is it just like the raw vocals before the vocoders on Lose Yourself to Dance?
Yes, it
Okay.
is everything but the vocals stripped off.
Okay.
Yeah. They have a piece on the writing of Fragments of Time, which I haven't listened to all the way yet, but from my understanding, it was more just like a documentary kind of piece. It's not actual music. And then they have the epilogue piece that was the Daft Punk breaking up video.
Yeah, the rearrangement of Touch.
Mm-hmm.
I do love Touch. Touch is like my favorite Daft Punk song.
It is. It is really, really good. Listening to it again now, like 10 years later, I am a lot more warmed up to it now. And I can appreciate it a lot more for what it is rather than what I wanted it to be.
Yeah, I can say again, if they literally just did this as like Daft Punk and Friends instead of just straight Daft Punk, probably would have
Hmm.
been received a little bit better.
Yeah. I wish there was a way that they could do something like not even put the Daft Punk name on it, just have them be producing it. And but then they would have probably, marketing problems, I'm sure. Would be a lot harder to put out there.
This album
Um,
left such an impact on me that I started listening through all of Niles Rogers, who's like their main contributor to this, like
mhm.
all of his fucking music, which Niles Rogers is a fucking amazing musician.
Yeah.
But I will say, like, a lot of his stuff, I never even would have considered listening to in the first place.
Hmm.
He did an album with David Bowie, by the way.
Hmm.
It's not my favorite album, but it is a good album.
Hmm. Yeah, there's so many different like historical pieces that branch their way into this album and get re-explored and looked at by them.
Damn. I'm like trying to stop myself from like impulse buying it right now.
um, Beyond that though, let's go and talk about some news because there's like some real news going on,
There's
and
news?
there's more that we should probably be talking about, but these are the big ones that I would like to talk about.
Yes.
Um, Major news today is that according to anonymous sources, I believe McCarthy's given a more of a proper announcement of it at this point, but we now have tentative confirmation that some sort of a deal has been made between the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, and President Biden as to a compromised deal to avoid the debt limit ceiling, to avert the government defaulting on its debt. Um, the fact that we are in the position where the Republican Party can't even be trusted to not force the government to default, to go into default, is so ridiculous on its face. It just shows how childish the whole party is, right? How immature.
But what you don't understand is they don't need to be mature when, this is like actual politics and not virtue signaling culture
No,
wars bullshit.
I mean they don't, right? That was the whole thing this week was oh shit. Yeah, I don't care. Let's libel a bit. Or I guess no. We're not in print, so it's slander.
Let's
Um let's slander a bit. I might have the names wrong here. I know for sure one of these, Laura Laura Bobert's son called 911 saying that his father was abusing him before Bobert picked up the phone instead and said, "Ha ha, sorry, just kidding. Don't send the police. That didn't happen." Very not suspicious at all.
wait, is
And
that
I believe it was
holy
what's that?
shit?
Yeah, no, that fucking happened. Yeah,
What the fuck? Why is nobody talking
party
about
of
this?
family values. The other one was I want to say it was Green. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor's Green. Her husband has filed for divorce. Party of family values.
What? I'm sorry. Is Marjorie
Or
one of
no,
the ones
maybe
that went
sorry. That
fucking ape shit?
I think that's the wrong one.
Yeah. Um.
Um,
What? 'Cause I
because her
believe
husband divorced her a long time ago.
didn't Marjorie once try passing a bill that would make divorce illegal?
No, it was also Bobert. Her Bobert filed for divorce from her husband
Oh God.
12 days ago. Yeah, and oh, when you know, after that, her son calls the police saying that he's being abused. It's a complete coincidence.
I'm sure there's no pattern here emerging at all.
Hmm.
Are there any other funny ones? Oh, didn't Marjorie Taylor Greene get
Um.
like fucking laughed at in Congress because she was trying to propose some
Yes.
batshit crazy deal?
Yeah, that did happen, and that was very amusing. She literally got laughed off the podium.
What was
by
she trying to
the
propose again?
Democrats. I don't even remember. I've completely forgotten at this point. It's for her, it was just Tuesday.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
We had DeSantis continue to embarrass himself as he's being sued by Disney.
Oh, can we talk about the fucking presidential announcement that went horribly wrong?
Oh yeah, yes, we absolutely should.
Oh my god, what happened?
Did
Nothing
you see the
happened.
statistics? You saw the statistics on it, right?
There's
The
statistics. Go on.
Let's see if I can find it. Somebody posted a comparison in terms of viewership, comparing his launch on Twitter to, because there's like 300,000, I want to say, people who are listening to it. When AOC was playing Amogus with a European politician, they had 430,000 viewers.
You're telling me DeSantis fucking lost viewership numbers to fucking AOC?
Yes.
That is.
Multiple times. The time she played Fortnite was also even more than that.
Wait, she played Fortnite?
Yeah. It
Oh,
was just
she.
like a fun, she was just, messing around, right? But it
Hmm.
was her and a bunch of other, celebrity type personalities did a Fortnite thing. I'm pretty
AOC.
sure. Maybe
If
it
you
wasn't Fortnite, but it was something like that, right?
AOC as a loyal viewer of the Two Schmo Show,
Mm,
feel free to
yes.
come on. We will gladly discuss video games with you, fellow gamers to gamer.
I'd be down for it. That'd be fun.
You think so? I would
Yeah.
love for us to have like a high profile guest on here, and then we just don't talk about the thing they're known for.
I
That,
think that'd be fun.
yeah,
Just like I think that that is definitely underrated, right?
yeah.
Like there's if you're even if you're like a celebrity of a more traditional sense, not just a politician, you obviously have interests outside of your work.
Yeah.
And giving people an avenue to just chat about that is really cool.
Honestly, if Joe Rogan really wanted to get good money, he would do that instead of like asking them what their favorite conspiracy theories are.
Hmm.
That being said, Joe Rogan, if you are listening right now, feel free to come on. We can totally talk about like jerky and different kinds of meats.
Actually, no, though, because Joe Rogan is massively cringeworthy at this point.
I've not listened to like anything he's said in like years.
No,
What
me
is he?
neither,
What's he
but
done?
that's by intention.
True. Very true.
Hmm. In other news, the Republican controlled Texas state legislature has finally issued articles of impeachment against their Attorney General Ken Paxton. Let me see if this AP
Yeah.
article has a bit more details.
Can we just talk
Holy
about
shit,
like
this was like not even a close vote. 121 to 23.
at least Paxton has 23 real friends?
The impeachment triggers Paxton's immediate suspension from office pending the outcome of the trial in the state's Senate and empowers Governor Abbott to appoint someone else as interim lawyer. Paxton has been under FBI investigation over accusations he used his office to help a donor and was separately indicted on securities fraud in 2015. Somehow that wasn't impeachment worthy. Um, yeah, it's just run of the mill security fraud.
Oh hell yeah, dude.
What else was it? Yeah, this is good. Republican Dave Spiller, a Republican member of the committee that investigated Paxton, quote, "No one person should be above the law, lest not the top law officer of the state of Texas." Never mind the fact that another Texas lawmaker was quoted as saying, "We cannot overemphasize the fact that, but for Paxton's own request for taxpayer funded settlement over his wrongful conduct, Paxton would not be facing impeachment in the House." So, literally, that's just like one of these people is lying. Right? One of them says, "No one's above the law," and the other one says, "We don't care about what he did. We just don't like that he asked us to pay for it."
Sounds pretty above the law if you ask me.
Yeah. It's despicable. It's very gross. Makes me glad to not live down in the South, seeing just how fucked up a lot of these places are getting.
It's weird how it's like devolved a lot since 2016. Like I know why
Hmm.
it divulged a lot, but it's like you wouldn't think it would be at this rate.
I don't know. I would hope that it wouldn't be, but it's kind of hard to be surprised by anything, really, you know?
Yeah.
So, this current investigation all ties back into what is this? A lawsuit brought on by a whistleblower amongst his own office that revealed he had helped a wealthy donor in exchange for money and employment for his mistress. This is all stuff that's been known for years at this point by the whistleblower. I believe the whistleblower came out in either 2020 or 2021. But yeah, the Texas State House has only just now taken action because Paxton wanted the government to pay for this trial that is related to the whistleblower. Um, and it's not even related to the securities fraud. Like he admitted to violating Texas security law, and he was indicted on charges in 2015, and it just never went anywhere.
Mm-hmm. So what did we learn today? If you're going to make problems, don't, ask your friends to bail you out.
Yeah, pay for them yourself.
Yeah, dude.
They won't stop you, but as long as you don't ask them to pay. Right? I guess that's like the house moving rule, right? It's okay to ask your friends to help you move house. You just got to make sure that you bring pizza and beer,
Yeah.
and it's all good. If you don't do that, then it becomes a problem.
A soul for the soul.
Mm-hmm. Last piece here, and the goodest of the terrible, terrible news. This was actually kind of good news, at least. Justice moves slowly, but for some people, it seems it does actually move. Oath Keepers founder Stuart Rhodes has been sentenced to 18 years in federal prison for seditious conspiracy relating to the January 6th attacks.
Yay.
It is about time.
Isn't it like just so surreal how long it's taken for this? Because like
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty cut and dry.
Yeah. It's part of what makes so many criminal cases so frustrating to watch as an outsider because in most cases like this, whoever the person is that's involved has been in jail for like 2 years at this point, right? Um Other people who were involved in the January 6th attack have been in jail pretty much the entire time, at least 18 months, and they're just now getting these verdicts read off, but because they did, much more minor things. They weren't premeditated. They only did a little bit of trespassing and assault. You know, they didn't mean to do it when they arrived. They're getting like 4 or 5 year punishments because that's what the law says. Well, that is what the judges involved with this are deciding is the correct course of action. Uh, the law says otherwise, but that's what's happening. But because they've already served like a 2 year sentence, time served counts towards that. So they only end up being in jail for like 3 years.
Mm.
And it just feels really bad.
It's like a slap on the wrist at that point.
Yeah. And like realistically, it's not. You know, we've seen how devastating being in jail, even for, a year, can be on someone's life and their ability to, even just hold down a job afterwards. Um, but in terms of justice, it you know, doesn't feel like justice is being had. Doesn't feel like the punishment matches the severity of what happened on that day.
Well, it also is weird because like it kind of depends on your own position on the U.S. prison system.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Because like I can say pretty well that due to my pretty timid demeanor and light skin, I have not seen the inside of a prison yet.
Yep.
So
Same.
I can say that when it comes to like a prison sentencing, I might not be the best expert on the severity of it. It also
Nope.
kind of depends on what prison you go to.
I gotta see if I can find it real quick. The thing that was frustrating when I saw it this week was a case where somebody I could have sworn it was related to the January 6th stuff. rejected a plea deal for, I want to say, 70 months, 78 months prison,
Okay.
lost the case. The prosecutors asked for 90 months, and the judge gave them like 50, less than what the plea would have been.
That's weird. Okay, go on.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Go
It's
on,
just
Your
like,
Honor.
why did we bother doing this?
Yeah.
Was it this guy? I think it might have been this guy. If it's to load. Skimming this article real quick. I believe it's this guy, one of the idiots, the guy who went into Nancy Pelosi's office with I want to say a taser or something. So very frustrating. But they got one of them. They got the leader of the uh seditious conspiracy aspect of it. So this is the first actual seditious conspiracy uh judgment to be handed down. Presumably more will follow after. If they've proven one of these guys was seditiously conspiring, it should be pretty trivial to get the others involved as well. Um, it is just unfortunate that it is taking this long. But I guess that is just the reality of the governmental system that we live in, is that stuff takes time.
Innocent till proven guilty. Am I right, my fellow Americans?
Yep, that would be the one. All right, what else do we have? Let's go to some entertainment stuff because we
Ooh.
had some major video game releases this week. Big old uh, releases.
You mean Lord the Rings Gollum?
Which one was it? It was the lowest rated release of the year so far.
Really?
Did you see the apology that the development studio put out?
I saw there was an apology, but I did not fully read the note.
I didn't either because it was the most boilerplate garbage I have ever seen. And it has been rightfully mocked because the game is atrocious. Like, well beyond, we're sorry that we didn't live up to expectations. Like, they just, they should have known. It is cyberpunk without a plan to get it fixed.
Yes, that's a good way of putting
It
that.
is that level of poor quality. And it has led to some pretty great memes. Just one of my favorites being just the compilation of all of the various studio apology letters over like the last 2 years of terrible games that released in broken states, barely working. As well as the Linus Tech Tips channel. Let's see if I can find it here. Put out a copy of like a boilerplate for developers to use. Yes, here we go. Hey, game studios in 2023, we saved you some time for your next release. Just change it up a little so it doesn't look like you're copied. Super hyped fantasy game 2 that was rushed to completion. Dear valued players, we at Game Studio would like to offer our sincerest apologies for the deeply underwhelming experience you had with our latest release, Fantasy Game 2. We understand that the game was plagued with debilitating frame rate issues on PC, rendering it practically unplayable. It's truly heartwarming to witness your unwavering support as we embark on this thrilling journey of consistently disappointing our dedicated fan base. It goes on and on. Once again, we apologize for our feeble attempt at providing you with a playable game. We promise to learn absolutely nothing from this experience and continue to ignore the cries of our community. Thank you for your misguided loyalty, and may your future endeavors be less riddled with regret than ours. Unenthusiastically yours, Game Studio.
It really is just like one of those things where you can tell a studio was just pushed by a corporate mandate, and that just led
I don't
to.
even know, right? Because like the Gollum game, who it was developed by Daedalic and Nacon, who, as far as I know, are neither especially large companies.
Yeah.
Daedalic is a video game subsidiary of Bastei Lube, a publishing genre in Cologne, Germany. Like, not an especially large conglomerate, right? It's not like there's an EA or an Activision or an Ubisoft looming over them to make sure this happens. No. Uh, One thing that I pulled up here that I was shocked by, PC Gamer gave The Lord of the Rings Gollum a 64.
That seems rather high.
Their subtitle is "This adventure has its charms despite a fractured identity."
Someone's a Gollum fan. That's the only way that makes any sense.
Oh, they're also just lying about what it is. They say expect to pay $50, which I guess isn't wrong because it's probably going to be on sale immediately. But it's still a $60 game on Amazon right now.
Oh no.
Like it's a $60 game that realistically you have to spend $70 on to get all of the, the lore, the reason that people give a shit about Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
And it just looks like ass. Gollum looks like a Gollum version of Gollum.
The Gollum at home.
Yeah.
Did you
And like that's saying something. Like Gollum already looks like a goddamn gremlin.
really it does. Like, did you hear like when they were giving out review copies to people, they had to put in like a little caveat note saying like, "Hey, don't turn on the hair model."
I did not hear that.
Oh, yes, the hair model in this game causes it to crash. So what you'd
uh,
get is like a little texture on Gollum's
yeah,
head.
great. Most of what I've seen about it is from Skill Up's review
Ooh, okay.
and some written stuff, and none of it has been kind.
Darn.
Like this is the price tag is the thing that I don't get with this. Like if they release this at half of this price, $30, people would be like, "Yeah, the game sucks, but it's only $30, so eh."
Yeah.
But it's a $60 game with a $70 premium edition.
Something about that doesn't make sense. What is in the premium edition of fucking Gollum of all things?
So it is the Precious Edition. Features concept art, a lore compendium, the game soundtrack, and additional voice acting in the Elvish language. So if you want Elvish, you got to pay extra.
Okay.
That's it. You got to pay $10 for that, and you can't pay for it after, as far as I know. You got to get the special edition up front.
Oh, wasn't there like a thing where you could pay for DLC to get Gollum to say "my precious" whenever you wanted?
I have not heard that.
You have not heard that. I've heard something
No.
along those lines.
Why is this? Where is this link to? Oh, it's just a note. Note on Wikipedia: when swimming, the game switches to a first-person perspective.
Okay.
Cool.
What?
It's just a weird note.
It is a weird note.
Uh, 36 on Metacritic right now for the PS5 version.
Ew.
It's not great.
Is it able to render the hair properly in the PS5 version?
No idea.
Okay.
From what I saw, it looked fine with like the release copies. So maybe that was just like a pre-release problem. Um, like the game runs like shit, but it didn't crash from what I heard reviews.
I just had like a weird panic attack moment. My leg fell asleep, and I sit like crisscross applesauce on my chair, and my like leg was positioned in such a way that it was like digging into my armrest, which is like hollowed out on my little chair here. So I have this leg I can't feel that's like
Yeah.
stuck in my armrest now. That was like the scariest thing I've ever had in my life. Holy shit. I like physically just
There are some good quotes here from GameSpot on Gollum.
like what?
The Lord of the Rings Gollum review. We don't wants it. We don't needs it. Uh, Dalek's long-delayed Tolkien adventure is just as unlikable and tragic as its namesake protagonist. Beyond its overly simple level design, jarringly dated graphics, and deeply uninteresting gameplay, The Lord of the Rings Gollum is broken to the point where it's nearly unplayable.
Just nearly though.
The wildest thing from like a design perspective to me is that there is apparently a bird companion involved in the game, as well as a second human companion that Gollum acquires later.
That's really confusing.
Yeah, it's weird.
Do you remember back when we were working in WOCR when they had the
Mhm.
Gollum like um PSA for like advertising the whole college radio?
Yeah,
Yeah.
vaguely, yeah.
Oh my god. I don't know why. I just all of a sudden remembered that.
hmm
Hated that ad.
So we also had a good game release this week,
A good
thankfully.
game?
So I think that balances it out. I guess it was 2 weeks ago, technically.
Yes.
So we have The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, whoa.
I do hope they continue doing this, whether it's just blank of the blank. And it's just they just keep taking, like roughly the same map and just doing more weird shit to it.
Really it is just like the same like map and then
Mm-hmm.
they just like put new assets on top of it, which is really
Mm-hmm.
funny at times.
Mm-hmm. I do find it really interesting. Like this is gonna sound stupid, but they like Elden Ringified the Breath of the Wild map, where they take this thing that you're kind of familiar with, and then part of the way through they go, now it's twice as big because you can go up and down.
Oh my god, that is
You know,
scary. Like when you first realize that.
it's like that moment of wait, there's a whole underground world is very effective, and I'm glad to see that it hasn't lost its charm since Elden Ring did it a year ago.
Can I just say I'm really proud of them for the fact that they kept that under wraps for like the whole like
Mm-hmm.
marketing.
It was very good.
It was chef's kiss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everybody who worked on this, like the review scores show it. Of course, it's a 96 out of 100. But
Yes.
and I'm sure they are, but they should be absolutely immensely proud of the work they've done. It's phenomenal.
It was definitely like worth waiting all these years for.
hmm Yeah, it's been getting nominated for most anticipated game of the year awards before it was even announced, and they somehow managed to not fall victim to that amount of overhype.
Really, it's quite impressive.
It really is.
What I find so interesting about this game is it's like I've told this to you before. It's like three separate games in one.
hmm Yeah.
As you said, Gary's mod inside
hmm
Breath of the Wild
hmm
are just fucking good retelling of fucking Ocarina of Time.
Yep.
And then third, I don't even know how to describe it. What did I use it beforehand?
Oh, I
Um,
can't recall.
I don't know. I'm trying to pull up my message from
Yeah.
before because as an avid games journalist, I can vouch there are three parts of this game: Tony Stark Warmonger Syndrome
Yes.
Simulator. There are people
Yeah.
making fucking historically accurate vehicles to like World War II bombers and
hmm
shit like that.
From
Blows me.
my understanding, it wasn't a part of the reason they're able to do that due to a bug that has since been patched out.
It made it a lot easier, but you can still
Okay.
do it.
Okay.
There was a duplication bug in
Yeah.
there. So like what you do is basically just dupe everything instead of having to go through all those resources.
Right.
Now you can do it. You can just grind for that shit, but
hmm
it's definitely slowed
hmm
down a lot of people.
I'll say I I have played most of the way through Breath of the Wild.
Okay.
And while I haven't played Tears of the Kingdom yet, I have been watching other people play through it. And while all of the gameplay stuff and the level design and all that has been a clear step up in Tears of the Kingdom, I am most surprised by how much more compelling the story is.
It's such a better story.
It is so much better. Like Breath of the Wild story was serviceable in that it was an adequate vehicle to push you to progress through the rest of the game. But you really could just kind of not give a shit about it and you wouldn't be at a loss for anything. It was there, but it wasn't necessary. Whereas in this, it feels like they've done a much better job integrating the story into what you are experiencing, what is happening, what is going on in the world. And I have been really enjoying that aspect of it.
So, controversial opinion, I think the stories between these two are very similar, but the
Oh, for sure. I mean,
execution,
it's Zelda, right?
yeah,
There's only going to be, it's like Mario. Oh no, the princess has been captured again. There's a baseline that they start with.
yes. Um, Breath of the Wild was good in the sense that it gave you a mystery to solve, like
Mm-hmm.
why was I in this hole for like 100 years?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Breath of the Wild is like, what is this fucking mummy and what's its deal?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Tears of the Kingdom. Why mummy?
I find, from what I've seen of it, I think from the gameplay that I'm watching, they're about like a quarter of the way through ish.
Okay.
But the cutscene content I've seen is way better.
Yes.
Just it's just a higher quality. The voice acting is more thorough, it's more complete, and there's just more of it. And I really appreciate that. There's so many games, and Tears of the Kingdom has, in my opinion, some problems with that too, where it is the problem inherent with the increasing scope of these games, right? When you take your game from, you know, a 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer square and then you increase it to be 3 by 3, it's now 9 times bigger, and then it has an upstairs and a downstairs, so now it's 27 times bigger. Um, you then also would have to record 27 times as much dialogue. And unfortunately for us gamers, not everybody is as batshit insane as Skyrim was to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a lot of instances where it's just, and I think this is, it's just typical of RPGs nowadays. The text goes up on the screen, and there's like a default character grunt or whatever. Um, the ways that the amount of work that they've done to limit that, though, I can really appreciate, and it feels a lot better than Breath of the Wild was in that regard.
What I'm most excited for is that we've had like this burst of Breath of the Wild clones after Breath of the Wild
Mm-hmm.
came out. I'm very curious how Tears of the Kingdom clones are going to work because Tears of the Kingdom is like
Yes.
a great adventure, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also a horror game when you get down into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
I'll
curious.
say,
Yes.
here's my hot take for Tears of the Kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
While there have been a lot of Breath of the Wild clones, I think Tears of the Kingdom has actually been heavily inspired by Gravity Rush. I'd be curious to see how much studio overlap, like in terms of like individuals, right? Because we're like a good 12 years from when the first Gravity Rush happened. I
Okay.
wonder how many people who are working at, God, I can't remember the studio, whoever were working on Gravity Rush are working for Nintendo now. Because in terms of the weightiness of the game,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like seeing Link moving in this game, and it's just like, as much as because I know a lot of people didn't because it was a fucking Vita exclusive for so long. It feels like Gravity Rush with the weight that things have, the movement that things are doing with it, how kind of floaty but still impactful a lot of the movement ends up being. There are
Interesting.
the bones of it are so similar between them that's just, I can't help but think it. And in particular as well, there's so much more color in Tears of the Kingdom than Breath of the Wild because you have these cities that have been developed for like another like 10-15 years in game time, so you have these cultural elements that are there too. It really feels similar in a lot of ways,
Mm-hmm.
in a way, and that in ways that I didn't expect and didn't catch on until I was starting to watch a lot of gameplay of it. In other words, go play Gravity Rush and Gravity Rush 2, goddamn it. They're phenomenal games.
You are like the biggest Gravity Rush fan I've ever met. And like
Oh,
I don't mean
it's
that as an
so good.
insult. I just mean that
I
like as an
I don't know.
observation.
Gravity Rush to me is what I want all Nintendo games to be, where it
Mm.
has an art style and also good frame rates.
That is something I will kind of hold against
Yeah.
Tears of the Kingdom.
It,
Especially when you're building
I can't
shit.
hold it against Tears of the Kingdom. It is a problem with it,
Yeah,
but at this point, it's a problem with the fucking Switch.
yeah.
It's a 6 year old handheld, and it's a miracle that Nintendo developers were able to do what they did with this in the Switch. Because that thing is so fucking dated. I can't wait to see this game get emulated on Windows so that people can actually play it at a reasonable frame rate consistently.
That is also fair.
Go get that fucking Bowser guy out of jail and get him to work.
Man, could you imagine being that Bowser guy and he's just like sitting in jail, sitting in prison,
It's
and
just
then like Doug Bowser shows up, like Nick Fury eye patch on it.
yeah.
He's like, I'm assembling a team.
Yes, that'd be great.
I would want that so bad.
So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom. It's good. Game good.
Game good. Ook ook.
Um, Speaking of though, something that was interesting that I didn't really realize. I'm starting to watch some of the coverage of Sony's state of play that they did,
Hmm.
where they announced a lot of stuff because this, I guess, is taking the place of what would have been E3 for them.
That was
And
the
something
vibe
that
I
I
was getting to.
yeah, something that I didn't pick up on at first that someone else did and saw on their coverage is how many of these games are being scheduled with concurrent PC releases now. Sony exclusives, as in they're not on the Switch or the Xbox, but will also have PC releases. Apparently, Sony has changed their guidelines, I guess you could say, for their first party studios, where if you are making a live service game as a Sony studio, the expectation has now shifted to also have a PC release at the same time.
That just screams that live services aren't as profitable as they thought on consoles.
I don't quite think so. I think they're just so easy. A live service game is a lot easier to release half finished and patch in later, right?
Yeah,
So they can release a live service game that runs like shit on PC with minimal effort and then patch their way into it being good enough and just make money while they're doing it, is what I would imagine it is. They're still also kind of like stuck bottlenecked by the number of PlayStation 5s they can sell, where it's gotten a lot better, but they still haven't gotten to the market saturation that their past consoles have because people just aren't buying as many consoles anymore.
that could be it too. I mean, like,
Yeah.
the PS5 has been hard to get in general.
Mm-hmm.
So at
I
this,
don't think it's ever gone on sale for like that's the big marker for me, right? Like a ton of people buy consoles when they go on sale at Black Friday or Christmas, and that just hasn't happened for like 3 years now.
that is also correct. I don't think I've only seen them out in the wilds like once or twice, like
Mm-hmm.
physical ones.
I I've seen them at like stores and displays. I don't think I've ever seen one owned by an individual in person.
Never gone to a friend's house and seen one, like just hanging
No,
out. Yeah,
no, they just what? Because why would you, right?
yeah.
If you got a Switch that gets most of the new stuff that you care about. If you're at the current time, you've probably got an Xbox or a PlayStation or a computer or some combination of that already that holds you over. And there haven't been, unless you're like a God of War fan, right? There's not been anything that compelling.
They really did shoot themselves in the foot with the fucking PS5.
And the hilarious thing is that they're still beating the shit out of Microsoft.
Yeah,
I'll say though, PSVR 2 looks phenomenal and is probably the best entry point for someone into the VR space right now.
I was about to.
Getting a PS5 and a PSVR 2 for $1,000, give or take, is a very compelling argument.
I was about to say. Speaking of consoles that
Mm-hmm.
fucking kind of kill you,
Mm-hmm.
they did do the PlayStation Q. Is it called?
Yes. My
Oh
favorite
shit!
thing that I've seen,
Yes.
it's called Project Q. Group I saw was talking about it has called it Project Question, as in project. Why are they doing this?
Yes.
And I have to imagine this is just something that is so cheap for them to make because screens are cheap. They're already making controllers that they sell for about $80. So the cost of sticking a screen on the controllers that they're already making must be cheap enough that they figure every single one of these they sell, they'll make money and they have enough fanboys to cover the initial costs of it.
That makes a lot of sense.
But though, like think back to the GameCube, right? With the GameCube keyboard controller, and it's like a stupid meme, but it's also kind of cool. And the Wii U, maligned as it is, had good ideas. I think Sony's I don't know, like I guess that's the question, right?
Yeah.
Sony's doing this without it being a new console. So maybe it'll work better for them. They'll be able to have developers develop out of house for it without as much constraint. Or maybe they'll just ignore it entirely because they can. I don't know.
I think a big portion of why the Wii U fell, though, was the lack of marketing and how terrible it was
Mm-hmm.
marketed.
Right, for sure.
I think
I
this is
just
already off to a better start.
yes. Yeah, that's kind of what I mean with it not being its own console, right?
Yeah.
Like unless you were deep into video games culture at the time and like really deep, even if you were like, a gamer but not super hardcore into it, you probably didn't know that the Wii U was its own console because Nintendo dropped the ball so badly.
I honestly thought it was an addition to the fucking Wii.
Hmm? I did too for a long time.
Yeah.
Because it just I had my Wii, I was happy with it at the time. I had my GameCube that I was still playing. I saw the Wii U was out. I was just like, oh, it's got a screen. That's cool, but I don't need it. So
Yeah.
whatever. I hope developers will be able to use it in cool ways. Right. That's like the goal is give developers the tools to do stuff that they want.
They're honestly doing what I originally wanted Nintendo to do with the fucking Switch.
Mm-hmm.
Which is like have it hook up to like a base for more console power and like
Mm-hmm.
use it as a controller almost. But oh well, here we are with Sony actually doing shit.
Yeah.
Instead, we got fucking Labo.
Yeah. I mean Labo was cool too, but yeah.
Yeah. You don't really hear people talk about Labo anymore. Like, is there
You know
still
what?
like a Labo community?
There probably is. They just haven't like Nintendo gave up on it, right?
Yeah.
That's the big problem. It's also really hard to search up.
You think so?
Yeah, like when you search up Labo, there are so many words that are close to it that it without it becoming ubiquitous, which these Nintendo things rarely are, it just becomes, another lab adjacent word caught up into the 15 other million options.
So it does look like Nintendo discontinued Labo. Shocker.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yeah.
Mainly due to the fact that the target audience, which was younger kids, kept ignoring it for actual Switch titles, and they were mainly going for adults and teenagers buying that product, and they didn't know how to
Mm-hmm.
fucking develop for an older audience for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is Nintendo's life in a nutshell. Which I'm going to make you choose here, right? Have you seen the I don't know what you call it, debate, the rigorous debate going on with regards to the summer double feature of Oppenheimer and Barbie?
Oh my god. I have seen
There,
it.
which one will you be seeing first?
Can I be very bluntly honest?
Sure,
So I'm thinking in respect to my girlfriend at this point because she loves
sure.
going to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
She's not going to go see Oppenheimer.
Mm,
No way in hell she's going to go see that.
that's fair.
Yeah,
That's fair.
this is the price I pay for having a girlfriend. You know damn well we already ordered our tickets to the Barbie movie.
Yeah, I mean, now that there's a full trailer out, I'm kind of like I already like the idea of it.
Yeah,
just having Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie in that scenario is amusing on its own. But now that we get to see more of the rest of the cast and the actual plot, it actually seems pretty fun. Like even more so. There's substance to it, right? There's a story.
They only need to make the Barbie movie fun.
Yeah.
That's the main draw of this. You can't go into the Barbie movie expecting Citizen Kane.
Mm-hmm. Oh, did I mention too that I've seen Citizen Kane now?
Oh, good shit. Did you figure out
Yeah.
what Rosebud was ahead of time?
No, not really.
Mm, mm. You're weak.
I was pretty disappointed in it, to be honest. I
Like,
kept tuning out.
it is a different movie from a
It's
different era.
it's much more dated compared to like Casablanca.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You've seen
it's
Casablanca
not.
too?
Yeah, I've been on a bit of a run lately. Going through, I found
Damn.
out that HBO has a bunch of that stuff on there now. So I'm
Yeah.
just like, yeah, what the hell, right?
Casablanca, I think, is very underrated for all things considered because it aged fucking
Mm-hmm.
perfectly.
Really has.
Yeah. Um, in my opinion, Citizen Kane has a lot of cool camera work and a lot of like really good editing tricks. However, the
Mm-hmm.
execution of the film, yeah, you definitely need to like have a certain expectation going in before going in. It doesn't feel like a modern film.
Yeah, I can appreciate. It's a lot for me. Like 2001, right?
Yeah.
I can appreciate it for how much it inspired future generations to follow in its footsteps. Um, but it hasn't aged quite the best.
Hmm.
But you can see, you can really pick out like, oh yeah, I can see where this director got this inspiration from, and then used it in their own film, right? Like Spielberg, I think, has talked very highly about Citizen Kane in the past as being a foundational, inspiration for his work,
You know what I
and
find helps.
you can really tell that.
You know what I find helps Citizen Kane a lot.
Mm,
If you learn some of like the production stories of how they pulled that movie together,
for
like
sure.
there's a shot of like Charles Foster Kane talking in his newspaper room, and it's like an upshot. What they
Hmm.
had to do was they had to like it was shot in like an actual set.
Hmm.
They had to make a giant hole in the like floor to fit the giant ass camera under, so they can get that upshot.
Hmm.
Or there's like when he runs for president, there's like this big like scene with like a whole bunch of people. He's the
Yeah.
only person on set. The way they got that like illusion of so many people is there's a black tarp with a whole bunch of people painted on it, and there's
Hmm.
little holes in there. And what they do is there's a guy behind there with like a whole bunch of lights, and he's moving the lights back and forth to simulate movement, so it looks like there's more
Hmm.
people than there actually is.
Interesting.
Oh man, it's such a cool movie once you like realize how they did it, because like they just did not have the resources to do as grand of a movie that actually is. That being said, watch Seven Samurai. That's my favorite fucking movie.
Mm, yeah. There's definitely more of the like non-American films of that era that I do need to track down a good way to watch.
Seven Samurai, Akiru, anything by Akira Kurosawa. Um,
Hmm.
that shit slaps on HBO.
Hmm.
Well, Max now.
Yeah, Max, stupidest rebranding ever.
Oh my god, they could have just literally just called it HBO and it would have been better rebranding than fucking Max.
Yeah, I mean, just keeping it as HBO Max, just have the whole fucking thing
Yeah,
is fine.
yeah. 2 syllables. Disney Plus. That's 3 syllables. That's harder to memorize. Fucking
Hmm.
yeah. Actually, no, that's 4 syllables. My bad for HBO Max. I don't give a fuck.
For new movies, Blackberry, one that I saw lately, it's pretty good. We would have talked about it last week. I think is when it officially released, or week after, or week before. Yeah, it's fine. It's not the 98% that it is right now on Rotten Tomatoes fine, but it's fine.
It's just fine.
It's totally enjoyable for something that you'll watch exactly once. There's not much depth to be picked up on it. And it's cool seeing Song Wan Cho, Pro ZD, in a major film up on screen.
It
He
must have
does a
been
good job.
interesting seeing him in a theater of all places.
Mm-hmm.
Can you please tell the audience your story about going to see this movie in theaters?
Yeah, so I saw this at the Celebration Cinema here in Portage, and because right now, like what all is in theaters right now, there is a ton of stuff out right now. Namely, of course, Guardians of the Galaxy, but also like a surprising number of smaller movies. You know, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. There's the Fast 10 is out now this weekend. John Wick 4 was still showing. Um, Super Mario Brothers movie, right? There's a ton of options right now for movies that you can go see. Especially when I saw it at like a Saturday night, that it was like an 8 o'clock showing, I think, and I ended up being the only one in that screening. Not a single other person showed up, which was very weird, kind of cool, but felt a bit wrong. But it definitely made the matinee ticket price feel a lot less bad.
I'm a little jealous actually that you got your whole theater to yourself.
Yeah, I don't know how it is up by you guys, but apparently there's a local film society that has been coordinating with the celebration down here to do these shows of these kind of indie-ish movies, and dedicate one of the smaller screens for like a week or two with one or two showtimes. So this ended up being one of those.
I don't think we have anything like that. Celebration has been doing this thing with a company called Fathom Events.
Hmm.
Fathom Events is here for two things, right?
Hmm.
To either make those big church mega movies that churches bring like their whole
Hmm.
congregation to, or to fucking bring over subbed anime movies to the fucking West.
Yeah,
Those are the whole two
they know
things.
where the money is.
They know exactly where the fucking money is. They're doing something very unique this year. Um, on June 27th, for the 20th anniversary of The Room, they're going to do The Room
Mm.
all over the country through Fathom Events.
Wow. That sounds terrible.
I may go to that. I'm really debating it.
I feel like people don't realize how much worse that movie is going to feel to sit through, knowing that you like don't really want to get up because you're in the theater, right? You want to get up as least the least amount of times that you can. So you can't just casually get a drink, go to the bathroom, pause it.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of people. There's going to be, I'm sure, like for people like for like you, they'd be fine with that. But I think there's also going to be a lot of people who are just like, oh no.
So apparently there's like a whole ceremony that gets done during that movie where people throw spoons at it whenever they see a spoon in the background, or there's
Wow.
various chants that go on through the film. So it's like a sporting event, really. That is what I'm expecting out of this.
That's amazing.
Yes, because like the we all know how the room ends, right? With Tommy committing suicide.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, apparently it's customary to scream out "Do it, do it, do it."
Excellent.
It's 96 minutes. Oh fuck.
It's not short.
I have a
That's
physical
like that's
copy.
like I need to have a bathroom break long.
So I have a physical copy of the room. And I don't think I ever told you this. When I first got my copy from Amazon, when I opened it, there's a fucking headshot of Tommy Wiseau in there. And if you flip it over, it's a catalog to buy underwear from Tommy Wiseau.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking bizarre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a bit. Um,
I like how defeated you sounded when you
I
said that.
I don't know. That's like the kind of caliber of movie that I can enjoy watching other people talk about and watch, but I could never bring myself to do it. I value my time too much.
Mm, mm.
It's like
Um,
like an hour and a half. It's a long time. I could like there's so many things that I would rather like rewatch for the fifth time than do that.
I think you just underestimate how much I fucking love the room.
Oh no, I know. I
Yeah.
believe me, I do understand. I get how it is for other people. I just can't do it myself.
You're awake.
Mm-hmm.
Go back to watching your cinematic excellent films like fucking Quantum Mania.
Oh fuck. Sorry, I'm skimming through the cast list here for The Little Mermaid. I did not realize who all was in it.
It's fucking stacked.
Javier Bardem as King Triton
Yes,
goes
sir.
really fucking hard.
Too bad the movie doesn't go that hard.
Apparently, it actually is like kind of fine.
Is it?
Apparently,
I'm
like it's a Disney movie, so the audience score is kind of whatever, but it's got a 67% right now.
interesting.
A functionally good-natured rehash fare bogged down by some watery CG and a few uncomfortable dips into Uncanny Valley, yet buoyed up by Bailey's winning titular performance.
But what do they think of Scuttlebutt?
That is a good question.
Because that song has no reason to exist.
Nope. The new Little Mermaid is no classic, but it's a dependable half-term treat, or rather feast, given that it runs for almost an hour longer than the original. Does it really?
What? What do they
Why is it
add?
2 hours and 15 minutes? Apparently they had to make room for fucking Scuttlebutt.
I hate that song so much. It's got like the best performer from fucking Hamilton in it, and yet Scuttlebutt still sucks.
Mm-hmm. Well, when I eventually renew my Disney Plus subscription, I'll probably have to take a look at this because I can definitely appreciate uh, a good individual performance, and that seems to be the only draw for this over over the original.
Who's the individual performance?
Halle Bailey
Okay,
as Ariel. Apparently, she does a great job with the role and her performances.
I will accept this.
Yep. And I guess given that she is the lead and is going to be on screen for like 60% of it, that's a pretty good way to start. Melissa McCarthy as a villain is actually kind of interesting too, because like she can sing, right?
Yeah,
We already know that, and having her be in a more villain role definitely I feel works in this context pretty well.
my biggest problem with Melissa McCarthy is I don't like her style of humor that
Mm-hmm.
much.
No,
So
I agree.
I don't mind the idea of her being a villain.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. It's an interesting thing. Oh, it's got Lin Manuel on it, so it can't be that bad, right? I guess that's what shows through. It is. It clears the very low bar of being the best of these Disney whatever things.
I'm
Live
sorry,
action
um,
reshoots.
my good friend. I have bad
Hmm.
news. He's the
What's
one
that?
that wrote Scuttlebutt.
Hmm. Hmm. That's a bit disappointing.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a 100% Lin Manuel Miranda song.
It's unoriginal.
Let's see here.
Is Aquafina's character even in the original Little Mermaid?
Yes, they it's a seagull from the original Little
Okay.
Mermaid. They just did a gender bend.
Okay. I guess that makes sense. It doesn't look like like it's a different bird, I guess. A little bit too. It's just throwing me off some. I'm curious what the audience has to say. In expected fashion, it is all ones and five stars.
No in between.
Yeah. Guy gave it. Wait. So there's two reviews here from Diego G. One that is a 5 star and one that is a 1 star. Presumably different people, but that is very amusing that they're right next to each other.
Okay, I'm kind of curious. Can we get some of those 1 star reviews?
As expected, not as good as they want to make it look.
Oh, damn.
Half star, another disaster for Disney. They need to stop doing live action remakes. Nothing about this casting makes sense, and the storyline was horrible.
That's a very subtle way to say some racist shit.
Yeah. I mean, someone actually give a Measured. This is 3.5. As someone who didn't grow up watching The Little Mermaid but watched later as an adult, it was easier to go into the theater and see it without the weight of the classic crushing every second of it. Starts off a bit slow, disregarding the CGI, rivaling the lack of quality of Marvel's latest flicks, with Ariel and her father getting into it a few times about her obsession with the world above the sea. Once she loses her tail and gains her footing on land, things move by really fast, maybe a little too fast, and this is arguably the better portion of the film. Plenty of new to replace There's plenty of new to replace some old from the original. New songs and are hit and miss in necessity and catchiness, and the classics have been changed for better or for worse, depending on who you ask. Some scenes have been understandably altered or removed entirely, with new scenes added that make it stand out as its own creation a little better. The performances of the cast were overall good, were good, very good overall. Halle Bailey as did a fantastic job capturing the personality of Ariel while making it her own. Melissa McCarthy and Jonah Howard King did the same for their performances as Ursula and Prince Eric, respectively, and David Diggs shined in his performance as Sebastian. A performance I would have thought been better was Javier Bardem as King Triton, who overall lacked personality and came across dry more often than not. And then there's Aquafina's portrayal of Scuttle Witch. This is no jab at voice acting at all, rather the writing of the character itself turned the lovable bird brain character into a moment of dread each time she grazed upon the screen. Overall, the movie is a fun watch despite its shortcomings and pacing issues, and for those new to the story like me, it should be easy enough to follow as long as you don't pass out from exhaustion after the forgettable yet unfortunately not rap sequence. It takes the original and makes it its own, which is what we all hope for, but some of it should have just been left under the sea.
That's
That's
most
actually a
measured.
good review.
Yeah, I'm
It's like, yeah,
impressed.
3.5. It's got some good stuff. It's got some bad stuff. This particular thing sucked, but it's fine.
I'm still traumatized.
That's hilarious. And that's just sitting amongst a sea of ones and fives.
I'm curious, what does a 5 say?
I went into this like most, with a negative thought in the back of my head from the changes and Melissa McCarthy as Ursula. As a huge Little Mermaid fan, I didn't have high hopes. Plus, most of the live action remakes are meh. This blew B out of the water. I loved every second. It was enough like the original to make it nostalgic, but still felt like its own movie. A plus plus plus.
That sounds like a Disney plant.
Yeah. I mean, that's just how, unfortunately, the average person kind of thinks with these kinds of things,
Yeah,
right? And
yeah.
how people tend to review on this. It's either the best thing ever or the worst thing ever, and there's very little in between.
Oh boy. Didn't Elemental come out as well?
No, not yet. That is later on in the year.
Never mind
Um,
then. Okay.
Coming soon. When is that? Because that is soon. I've been seeing trailers for it, and it looks like the most generic shit ever.
June 16th.
Yeah.
Oh shit, the big one's next week.
Which one is next week?
Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's going to be huge.
Can they double down?
I think they can.
I'm optimistic for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the Spider-Verse team is probably like the most talented in fucking animation at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's anything that can make a good sequel, it's them.
But what about Transformers: Rise of the Beasts?
So like I was saying, if anybody can make a good movie, it's going to be the Spider-Verse cast. And there's no other way around it. No, what were you saying?
Oh, this isn't a James Cameron, not James Cameron. Fucking, I can't even think of the guy's name. It's whoever directed the Transformers. Michael Bay. It's not Michael Bay directing, so it might. I am foolishly optimistic on the Transformers movie. Right.
Oof. Emphasis on the foolish. Go on.
I like the Transformers franchise, and I want there to be something good about it again so badly.
Are you telling me you want Transformers to be great again?
Yeah, I
You
wouldn't mind it. They got Ron Perlman as Optimus Prime.
okay? That's
He
good
does he
casting.
does the voice so fucking well.
Ron Perlman is like perfect in everything he's in.
Oh my god, I was wondering why I hated that. Pete Davidson has a character in it, one of the Transformers, and it makes a lot of sense now.
Sorry, I'm too busy looking at Ron Perlman's filmography.
Understandable.
Yes,
Carry on.
this man's perfect. He's in literally every Del Toro movie. He can do no wrong.
Mm-hmm. I'll say two things for this Transformers movie that has me optimistic is that they're leaning on it seems at least to be completely detached from the Michael Bay stuff.
Okay.
Other than like, it's live action-ish, right? Because they have a bunch of characters that would have been in the animated TV show that weren't in the Michael Bay movies. So I think that's a cool aspect of it, a cool element that sets it a bit apart. Probably not enough to really matter, but I like that idea of sort of starting over again. And the way that it is exploring the fucking planet eating thing is cool. They kind of fumbled that the last time they did it. So having that as a plot point again is neat. But it'll probably be like mediocre regardless because it is a Transformers movie.
So I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you like about Transformers? Because I'm going to be very blunt with you. I've always hated
Mm-hmm.
Transformers.
I don't know. I'd have to think about it some. Probably nothing like in particular,
Okay.
just like the general vibe. I've
Okay.
always liked like uh car stuff in particular. So
Hmm.
there's an element to that that is just like immediately kind of clicks for me with, having like performance cars and stuff. Same thing with like the Fast and the Furious franchise, right? You see cool stuff, like cool cars driving fast. And it's like, whoa, that's neat. It triggers the like dinosaur part of your brain.
So when I was younger, there was like this car show that would come up every year for like where I lived.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Father's Day car show, and there was like nothing else to do except like stare at corn where I lived for a majority of my life. So it
Mm-hmm.
was it was like a thing we would do just every year, go to it. And I always hated it. I always thought it was like
Mm-hmm.
the worst thing on the planet to just be around all these boomers staring at cars all
Yep,
day. Fucking despise them.
that is fair.
Yeah. So I think it gave me an internalized hatred of cars.
Mm-hmm. This is going to be interesting. On June 16th, there is the release of Elemental, The Flash, and the limited release of Asteroid City.
It is the box office battle of the year.
Yeah.
I hope the Flash is
God, I
actually good.
I
It's
I
not.
am confident that James Gunn knows what he's doing enough to use this to make the rest of the DC movies make sense. Like my one expectation from the Flash is that it is the big red reset button. And that is it. If it does that, I don't give a shit. Just don't show me Ezra Miller's face ever fucking again, and I'll be happy.
Damn. What did
Put the
Ezra
put the
Miller ever do to
DC
you?
franchise. Nothing yet, but it fucking seems like it's just a matter of time.
I'm sorry. That was good. That was good. That was good. You
Well,
get
yeah, I
three.
mean, he's just like he's just a piece of shit. I'm tired of seeing him on screens. He does not deserve a dime of the money that this thing will inevitably make.
You're right.
And the CG looks so fucking bad.
I love that photo. Oh, he used it for one of our thumbnails of Michael
Yeah.
Keaton Batman from like below. It just looks so awkward.
This shit.
But shit.
This shit is terrible. I'm sending a picture. It's being slow. It's terrible.
That looks like one of the fucking TV shows.
That is the state of the DC extended universe, or the DC cinematic universe.
Pre James Cameron.
That's a scene. That's a screenshot of a scene in
James
this
Gunn.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yes, presumably.
God, that looks awful.
Yeah.
I love how it just has the U.S. fucking military in the background, so you know they're getting that fucking subsidy money.
Yeah. It will be nice to see Michael Keaton as Batman again.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, I was never a big fan of the series back then, but I can appreciate why people were, seeing like short clips and stuff of it, beats and pieces. There's a strong nostalgia there, and it was a cool thing to see. So, I don't know. I want that part of it to be. I don't. It's torn, right? Like I don't want it to be too good because it still has Ezra Miller attached to it. But I respect a lot of the people who worked on this. You know, Michael Keaton, Ben Affleck. I want them to be successful in their ventures.
Very true. That being said, though, do you think we're going to get like a cut of this movie where, even though it's The Flash, they're going to
Mm,
focus more on Michael Keaton Batman?
probably not.
Oh, damn.
I'd imagine, given the hot water they're in already, they'd probably try to minimize Ezra's role to the greatest extent that they can.
Yeah.
Like, do they even have? Yeah, like the official poster for it doesn't even have his name on it because it doesn't have anyone's name on it, and that feels like a conscious decision to me to distance themselves in the ways that they can, especially with how like Marvel puts so many fucking names on their posters. You know, it builds the hype.
I am really excited for James Gunn to just take over the DCEU.
Mm-hmm.
Only on the grounds that it's probably going to whip Marvel back into fucking shape. Because I feel
Mm-hmm.
like it's definitely going to be like, oh,
Yeah.
competition.
Like James Gunn goes, puts out Guardian 3, probably going to be the only good movie of Phase 4 and 5, and then
Damn.
jumps ship and starts doing it for the other guys.
Yeah. In which case, I don't mind getting some good DC movies.
Oh yeah, no, like Batman, the Batman and
Yeah,
Joker were excellent. It's clearly not an IP problem. It's the people working on it.
very much so. I think it's ironic to see Marvel turn into DC and then DC turn into Marvel, and I kind of want it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that we have today?
Not so much. I think that is about all that I have, at least. Let me double check. Like, I'm sure I could find more to talk about.
I mean, we were gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah, there's plenty of stuff that happened.
I was in
Like
Boston.
in the news. Yeah, how was that?
Beautiful. Boston is a
Mm-hmm.
very lovely place where people honk their horns at a moment's notice. I ate at Gordon Ramsay restaurants, and I should
Mm-hmm.
not do that because my bank account is hurting. But
Mm-hmm.
c'est la vie. I'm trying to think of other things. I went to the New England Aquarium and I got to meet Myrtle the turtle, very famous there apparently. If you
Oh
look him up on their Wikipedia page, Myrtle the turtle is featured on there, which is kind of interesting.
yeah. It looks up. Is it spelled like Myrtle Beach Myrtle?
Yeah,
Myrtle the turtle. Hell yeah. Ah, sea turtle. Sea turtles are cool.
sea turtles are pretty cool. Like, it really scared me looking at Myrtle in the eyes because Myrtle has very human-like eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, photos of a sea turtle does not do it justice. They have like fucking feelings, man.
Yeah, that's definitely a common thing amongst like any animal that lives for a long time tends to get smarter as they go, you know. You know, like if you're a dumb species, you tend to be at a disadvantage for age.
Of course.
So turtles got a bit of a leg up there. Same with like whales. I guess it's a good segue as any to the um what
Orcas?
are they? The orcas that are sinking ships
Oh
off the
my
coast of
god.
Spain.
This podcast is on Team Orca, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's amazing. They should do it. They should expand over to the Americas.
Really, they should. Man, I should have like we need like a little Team Orca banner to put on like the podcast as well. Let me see if I can find anything like that. Team Orca. There we go. It looks like shit, but I'm going to keep it. I'm pretty sure this is from an esports team.
Nice. Probably. It
Yeah.
looks like it.
Yeah. Well, it's also like the logo from the Dota 2 Wikipedia.
Oh, yeah, that would do it.
Yeah. Maybe not that. Oh well.
What are they gonna do? Sue us? They're probably bankrupt anyways.
Damn, dude.
Esports is in a rough spot right now. It's
Really?
not great. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's I think it's kind of funny because the esports world wants so badly to be the real sports world to the degree that they like have started to overpay the players and staff to a ridiculous degree.
Oh
And
no.
they go out and they build these like multi-million dollar centers for their players and stuff. And it's just like it feels like it kind of misses the point a bit, you know?
The whole point of esports was because we couldn't compete with jocks.
Like what was the one? Like TSM. Are they bankrupt yet? Oh, that's one too many characters. No, apparently not. Oh wait, no. Apparently they are. They're not bankrupt yet, but they're on their way out. So Team Solomon, TSM, started off in League of Legends, and they have since expanded out to a bunch of different esports. And over the last year, they have had to basically everything that they possibly can because they signed a big partnership with FTX, who has now plummeted into the fucking ground, and they are losing money like crazy. So they no longer have many of their esports teams. But thankfully ahead of time over during the pandemic they went and made a like $100 million team house or team center that god knows where that money actually went, but they were clearly spending it well.
If you could compete in any esports league, what would it be?
Like at the proper skill level
Yeah.
or
Assuming you were at the proper skill level.
um I mean probably League of Legends or Dota.
Dota?
They're just such stable industries at this point that it's one of the only leagues that I would consider safe enough to go into right now.
Damn.
I love watching Rainbow Six, but the state financially of it is terrible. And these esports teams need to either start cutting way back or they're going to go bankrupt like they have been. Um, and it's the same situation in like CSGO, Rocket League, and Valorant. There's so many teams that are running at massive losses. It's not sustainable, and they need to change something, or they're going to go bankrupt.
What about well, I guess fighting games is a different story entirely because it's more individuals
Yes,
at that point.
yeah, that definitely changes it up some.
Yeah.
It's one of the few esports that it is even a possibility to be independently successful.
Very true.
Even then, though, it's rough, right? Because they still have to deal with the same problems of finding and securing sponsorships.
Mhm.
And if viewership isn't keeping up, which has been the problem kind of across the board, COVID had a huge boost where it's a give and take, right? They couldn't go in person anywhere during COVID, but the people who could do tournaments online had great numbers from it because, what else are people going to watch? Now that we're coming out of that and people are going back to work, viewership's going down, inflation is going up, so people have less discretionary spending to put into merchandise, right? Stuff like that, paying for ad-free streams, exclusive content. So the money is just drying up, and across the board, it's just getting tight. I saw a thing for Phase where they're apparently losing $240,000 every month on their Valorant team,
How are they keeping that up?
just their Valorant team. I don't know. Their Rainbow Six team's losing like $80,000 a month, and they don't even have a fucking title to put to their name.
Somebody's prostituting on that team.
It doesn't make sense, right? Because like even for like the Rainbow Six side, it's pretty easy to do the math, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, $80,000 a month in losses. So they're assuming they're 100% losses, which isn't the case. An $80,000 a month budget. They have 5 players, one coach, 2 or 3 analysts. So just round up and call that 10 people, right? You've got 10 people that they need to support. An average salary for any of those positions maxes out at like $5,000 a month for the average player,
Holy shit.
which is too much
Yeah.
in the first place. But even then, you're only up to like $50,000. So there's still another $30,000 that they need to find money for. It's not going into advertising because they don't advertise anything at all about their Rainbow Six team. So it's not that. They're in Brazil, so it's not like they're spending $30,000 a month on housing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where's the money going? There's a huge fucking gap here. Even say give them each of the players and the coaches and the analysts another $1,000 a piece every single month. You're still 20 grand short. And it's like that same thing across the board. Where's the money going? Nobody fucking knows. It's just disappearing.
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I keep away from that kind of side of esports.
Mm-hmm.
I am going to try watching Evo this year because I'm really
Mm-hmm.
excited. I've been trying to get more into fighting games.
It's a cool thing
It
for
is.
sure.
Have you ever gotten into fighting games?
Not especially.
Fair enough.
It's just never really caught me too much.
So, like, I like fighting games a lot. What I fucking
Mm-hmm.
hate are Smash Bros. Fans.
Mm, that's fair.
Yeah.
I like the party game side that fighting games can offer.
Yeah.
When you have everybody at a kind of even level of nobody knows what the hell is happening, they can be a lot of fun. But I find when they get to be the scale that they are right now, of Smash Bros is bad for this too, but even with Mortal Kombat and pretty much all of them have just gotten to be so complex that if I wanted to sit down and play something independently like that, I feel like I would spend more time learning about the game than actually playing it, and that's just not a great way for me to do it.
You see, I tried learning.
But that's just how I approach games in a different way.
Yeah. I tried learning Skullgirls, and I got pretty decent at it. But I
Mm-hmm.
played against one guy who played pretty what he called casually, and got fucking curb stomped.
Yeah, everybody's got different definitions of casual.
It's unfortunate, man.
Mm-hmm.
No, this is where I sit in my JRPG arena.
Yeah, I was interested in oh, I can't remember what it's called. Guilty Gear.
Mm. Yes.
The gameplay of that one, and along with the music, seemed like it would be enough to keep me interested. But I just never really got around to picking it up.
I would love to learn Guilty Gear.
Mm-hmm.
I have a friend that's trying to get into like DBZ fighters,
Mm-hmm.
which is so weird that that did so well that it's in Evo of all places, but there hasn't
Guilty
been
Gear
like
is or
no
DBZ.
DBZ
Yeah.
that there hasn't been like more attempts to make like a anime fighter like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's very strange.
I've been really interested to see, and this is kind of like on the same vein, how much more. I mean, I guess it does make sense though, right? Because fighting games over in Asia aren't nearly as popular,
Yeah.
um, to a degree, compared to things like Dota and League and those sorts of MOBAs. Where I've been seeing, apparently, there's a big collaboration with one of the VTuber like production groups where they have done a crossover with, I think, League of Legends to put their VTuber characters into the game.
No way.
Yeah, maybe. Let me check.
I mean, they have
Smite.
the
It was in
models.
Smite,
Okay.
but it's still cool, right?
Yeah.
Like that kind of collaboration is fun, and it fits the characters in the game, I guess. But it's just weird to see.
Would you ever want to try doing VTuber stuff?
Mm, probably not.
Yeah. I'm of the opinion that VTuber stuff is kind of cool, like technology wise, but I hate the uncanny
Hmm.
valley of it.
I saw a really good piece. I'll actually send this to you because it was just like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I watch like clips of stuff on YouTube sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't really sit down and watch a full stream. Um, but one of the VTubers, which one was it? I can remember their names. Shy Lily was talking about how the modeling process for it works. I thought it was really cool to see one of the people who are like in the industry, so to say, give like real time examples of why certain models fall into that uncanny valley thing and others don't, and how the the degree of work that is needed to make them look good, and how a lot of it just doesn't come to that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like some people do the VTuber stuff based off a template of some kind
Yes.
because, like, there's no way you can rig a model that well.
It's all money, right?
Yeah.
Um, I know when it gets to the degree where they're like partnered with a organization that gives them the overhead, they spend a lot of time and money working with artists on doing both the model making and the rigging part of it so that
Mm-hmm.
it looks good. But even
Mm-hmm.
then, there is a level of just kind of like giving a shit that a lot of people don't do because they expect it to be just kind of like, you just plug it in and it works. And that's
Mm.
just not the reality, right? Like you can download Audacity, right? But if you don't go to the effort to learn how to use it, it's not going to sound as good as somebody who does because you're just, you know, putting in the bare minimum to have it turned on. So,
Okay. Well, what have we learned here today, Kyril?
uh, VTubing is cringe.
VTubing is cringe. Thank you. And I would love a game where we can just beat up like VTubers, like a VTuber fighting game. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Fight for who's best girl or not.
That is one side of it that I do find, it's like it goes on with like the whole sex work thing, right? Like people are allowed to spend their money on whatever the hell they want, but it does kind of feel a little predatory at times, or not necessarily predatory, but exploitative.
Exploitative is a better word for that.
Yeah, I've seen some of the like more wholesome VTubers that will get like dumped on with like somebody who just like puts like $100 at them, and they're just like, "Please don't do this. That's not good. You should not be doing this. Spend your money on stuff for yourself."
Okay, then. Would you like to wrap it up here, Mr. Kyril?
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. I'm Mr. Ryan, and I've been a Schmo.
I'm Kyle, and I've been a Schmo.
And my base is on the other side of the room, so I can't play us off.